So you've now started, I guess, 2 companies. Is that right?
3.
3 companies. What was the one before?
Actually, 3 officially. The 4th I don't talk about because I was still a graduate student in my dorm room, and
the nice thing about
I was
startups
a foreign
is
student.
it's a max function. You can just talk about the good ones. And
no, the first one was actually very interesting. I worked a lot on compression, handwriting compression.
Oh,
so that was that was a fun project, and I made a few bucks licensed off the technology and things
that
like that.
That was bootstrapped. Right?
Correct. Yeah, it was literally me and my roommate, and then after that I started a small company. Then I went to work for I realized that I enjoyed it a lot. It was such a, you could just tune out everything else and just focus on what you were doing, and 3 days later you had something that you could touch and feel, and it was very empowering. And I realized I loved it, and but I didn't have really any formal training in business or any of those things, and I wasn't at a place in life where I could afford to do any of those, go to business school or do anything else. So I went to work for a very small consulting company in Cambridge. It was arguably the best job I had. These, by the way, I don't consider these jobs anymore because I don't think I do anything real productive anymore. But that was a great consulting company because we worked on projects that ranged from ice cream machines to Nike sneakers to digital cameras to every range of things. And I was one of the guys that was more mathematically centric. So I did all the math modeling for like freezing equations and things like that. And that really taught me how to take a concept and productize it. And so I decided that my first love was starting things, great ideas that I would come up with. And that's a very dear process to me. I like to come up with the idea and flush it out. And it sometimes takes months, sometimes takes years. But you just kind of iterate it in your mind, at least in my case. And then once I'm ready, I kind of come out and just implement it. And then show it to people and get criticism and then tweak it and reform it. And so I started my first company, which was, lo and behold, for lawyers. It was a software timekeeping system for professional services companies because every time they forget to write a quarter minute down or whatever, this is in the 90s, late 90s, by the way. And I sold it to a bunch of law firms around Boston, and people liked it. In fact, up till 2008, they were still using it. In fact, because after I'd sold my third company, I was sitting cooling my heels, and I got a call for tech support from one of the firms that used to use that. I said, well, it's still Windows 95.
Right. So what do you, what are the biggest things when you set out to do Aereo that you thought you'd do different? I mean, that you learned from your past experiences and decided to do differently this time?
So before Aereo, and I was a young CEO, you self-criticism is a good thing. But what you forget is there is such a level of defensiveness about you that you end up making choices that you think are right because they appear right, as opposed to what they're right because you feel that you believe that they're absolutely right. And they tend to be mostly cultural and in people choices that you make. They're seldom technological. Sometimes they are, and I think that comes with time, a little bit of confidence.
So what are your plans now with Aereo? What are you working on?
So expansion, that's sort of on everybody's mind. And that comes in a lot of different places. Geographic expansion, getting out to as many markets as we can. And platform expansion, getting to as many devices as we possibly can. And people. So recruiting, hiring, and that's
You do your engineering in New York? Or?
We do operations, marketing in New York. We do R&D in Boston.
Okay. So you're hiring both those places?
Both places, yes, and marketing as well here.
So if somebody's watching is, let's say, a fledgling entrepreneur, what would be your top advice you'd give them? Don't buck the trend, because it's a lot easier to build a company when nobody's looking. There's a lot more, you can hire more talent, find the uncharted area. Go for the difficult problems, because creating an app is easy, but solving a real problem is hard. So buck the trend. Yeah, what do you think of, like, was it Founders Fund or whatever that wrote that provocative thing that said we asked for flying cars and all we got were 140 characters or whatever? There's sort of this general thesis, some theme among some people that people are doing things that are too small.
I think there's merit in that argument, because I think companies that have larger missions, I mean, Google's a great example. They said, we're going to organize the world's information. I think that's a powerful thing, right? And it provides the sustaining fabric to the company. So I think there's merit in that.